You know that moment when you realize you've been holding on to something that's already fallen apart? That was me, just a few weeks ago, standing in front of him, crying my eyes out, screaming for answers that I didn't want to hear. But what hurt more than his silence was how easily he gave up on us, without even a second thought. My name is Emma, 32, and I'm about to tell you how I ended up questioning everything I thought I knew about love, trust, and the man I had married. 7 years. That's how long we had been together. 7 years of shared dreams, a beautiful wedding, and a house we picked out together. At least, that's what I thought we had. When we first met, it felt like fate. I still remember the first time I saw Mark at that party, tall, charming, the kind of guy who made you feel like the only person in the room. He had this energy about him that was magnetic. We clicked instantly, and every moment we spent together seemed like a page out of a romance novel. He'd call me every morning just to hear my voice. We'd spend hours talking about our plans, our goals, our future. We had this rhythm, this understanding. When we got married, it felt like the start of the greatest chapter of our lives. But now, as I stand here, I wonder how it all went so wrong. A few months ago, everything started to shift. Little things at first, this late nights at the office, the missed calls, the lack of attention. At first, I told myself it was just work stress. I'd be patient. I'd try harder. But it didn't stop. It only grew. Mark, once so loving and present, seemed to vanish. I tried to talk to him, to reach out, but he'd just nod, say it was nothing, and go back to whatever was occupying his mind. It wasn't like he was doing something wrong. He wasn't cheating or hiding anything dramatic. He was just absent. Emotionally, mentally, physically. It was like I was living with a ghost. I told myself I could handle it. I could fix this. So I did what any person who's desperate to save their relationship does. I changed. I bought new clothes, new makeup, changed my hair. I tried to keep the spark alive. I planned date nights. I took interest in his hobbies, even started pretending I cared about things that didn't matter to me, like fantasy football. I made dinner and even tried to learn to cook dishes I knew he liked, hoping he'd notice me again. But nothing worked. Then, there was the night I knew something was seriously wrong. I had planned this amazing anniversary celebration. We'd been married 5 years, and I wanted to do something special. I made reservations at that new French bistro everyone was talking about. I got all dressed up, put on that red dress he used to love. I even had my hair done the way he liked it, but he didn't even notice. He came home late, not because of work, but because he'd gotten caught up playing his video game again. I tried to smile through it, but the hurt was overwhelming. "You look nice," he said, distracted, like he wasn't really seeing me. "We need to hurry. The reservation's in 30 minutes. I was crushed. My heart sank right there, in the kitchen, as I watched him shuffle around like it was just another normal evening. And that was when I knew I was invisible to him. The night didn't go as planned. We ate in silence, the dim light of the restaurant making it feel like I was the only one in the room. Every time I tried to talk, he just nodded or gave short answers. He didn't ask about my day, didn't comment on how beautiful the restaurant was. Nothing. I cried quietly into my wine, pretending I was fine, while deep down I was breaking. That was the moment I knew I couldn't keep doing this. I couldn't keep pretending. So, I did something I never thought I'd do. I went to therapy alone. I told Mark nothing. I needed someone to talk to, someone who would help me sort through the mess that had become my life. I started seeing Dr. Harper. She was kind, insightful, and listened to everything I had to say. After a few weeks, she suggested something that scared me: couples therapy. At first, I laughed it off. "What's the point?" I said. "It's over." But Dr. Harper insisted I bring Mark in for a session, and so I agreed. The day of our first couples session arrived, and I was a mess. I spent the entire morning rehearsing my speech, preparing for the moment I would finally tell Mark the truth. I wasn't happy. I was done. I deserved more than this. When we got to Dr. Harper's office, Mark was, as usual, distracted. I could see him checking his phone, avoiding eye contact, as if he wasn't even invested in this. I sat across from him, my heart pounding in my chest, the words barely leaving my lips. "Mark, I want a divorce," I finally said, voice shaky but firm. He looked at me, his expression cold, like I had just told him I wanted to order pizza for dinner. He didn't blink. didn't react. For a moment, I thought I had imagined it. This couldn't be real. Dr. Harper, sensing the tension, tried to break the silence. "Mark, how do you feel about what Emma just said?" And that's when he said it. "I'll be gone by morning." Just like that. Like it was nothing. Like I was nothing. No anger. No plea for me to reconsider. No fight. Just done. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something. To make him see how badly he'd hurt me. "Don't you care?" I cried out. "You're just going to leave? After everything?" He didn't flinch. He didn't even look guilty. "I already packed," he said. "I'll be out by morning." I was completely stunned. My world came crashing down. I expected emotion. I expected him to fight for us, even if just for a second, but there was nothing. Just this hollow emptiness that filled the room. The rest of the session was a blur. I don't remember much after that. Dr. Harper tried to talk to him, but Mark barely engaged. His answers were so detached, so distant, I couldn't believe this was the same man I had married. It was like he was already gone long before I ever even realized it. When we left the office, there was no confrontation, no final words, just silence. The kind of silence that suffocates you, the kind that makes you question everything. That night, when we got home, Mark did what he always did. He grabbed his things, went to the couch, and started playing his game, like nothing had changed. I was standing in the doorway, watching him, heartbroken, confused, and furious. I tried to talk to him one last time. "Mark, please, can we talk about this?" I asked. My voice was shaking, but I was determined to have one last conversation. His response was simple, "What's there to talk about?" I couldn't believe it. I had given everything, and this was how he responded. I had cried, pleaded, and he just shut me out. I was nothing to him. I was a problem to be solved. And when I said I wanted a divorce, he had already checked out. He was already gone, in every way that mattered. By the time morning came, he was gone. Just like he said. All his things were packed, and he had already moved into a new place. No drama, no fight, no emotional farewell. He was gone. I don't know why it hit me so hard. Maybe it was because I thought I was the one who had control. But Mark? He had already let go. I was the one who was still stuck in the past, fighting for something that was already over. And that's the hardest part of all. The hardest part was realizing that I wasn't just losing him, I was losing myself, too. I had spent so long trying to hold on, trying to fix something that wasn't meant to be fixed. As the days passed, I tried to move on. I threw myself into work, into new projects, into my own life. But the silence in our house was deafening. The emptiness of his absence hit me at the most unexpected times. And every time I thought I was healing, I realized something more painful. I wasn't just grieving the loss of our marriage. I was grieving the person I had become while trying to hold on to a love that was never really there anymore. Mark moved on quickly. He started dating someone, knew someone, who seemed to have all the qualities I had lost. The worst part? He seemed happier. But maybe that was the wake-up call I needed. I had spent so much time blaming him, blaming the situation, that I never stopped to look at myself. It took me a long time to understand, but I finally did. He wasn't the problem. The problem was me, and that's a hard pill to swallow. But I'm swallowing it. And I'm learning to breathe again,